Hi, I'm Eli Lieber, CEO of Dedoose, and I'm here with Tom Weisner. And in my role, I've recently been spending a lot of time talking to people on our team and thinking about the future of Dedoose. And in doing so, I started to reflect a lot on the past. And one thing that just kept popping up to me was the EFI, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But one of the things that was why I invited Tom to come in and talk a little bit about that and the history and what central role. I mean, I refer to it in some of my notes as the soul of Deduce, and where that all came from. But before I do that, I wanted to take you back a little bit further. It's been almost 25 years that Tom recruited me to UCLA, where I've worked as a research psychologist. And a lot happened before that to get me ready for what I've contributed to this journey together. I graduated at the University of Illinois a long time ago as in the psychology department in a division called Personality and Social Ecology. Okay, it's an odd division. It wasn't even the division I applied to, as a fun fact. It doesn't exist anymore. But it let me study follow my interest in developmental psychology. I did some work with Carol Dweck. I did my master's work with her, and that was marvelous. And measurement, where I did work with Jerry Clore and Ed Diener and Mark Aber, really kind of getting my statistics chops and those kind of measurement skills in my tool bag. And then I went off to Taiwan, where I studied culture and parenting with Heidi Fung, and under the guidance, a blessing of working with Yanghua Xu. And I really became enamored with qualitative methods, which we just needed to do the work we were doing. Same questions I was interested in, different method was required. And then I end up at UCLA with Tom Weisner. And when I was introduced to the EFI, the Ecocultural Family Interview, it opened my eyes to ways that we could integrate data that were gathered through both quantitative and qualitative methods, both of which I value tremendously, and start to answer our social science questions in new ways. And so I thought I would ask Tom to come in and just talk a little bit about where this thing came from, because a lot happened in the EFI before I arrived, and sort of help just bring these storylines together and think about how that might serve the Deduce future as well. So, Tom,
Well,
please.
thank you. And it's great to be able to both talk about the history and bring it up to temporary concerns in research methods today. So we had a mixed method qualitative quantitative research lab in our culture and medicine research center at UCLA at that time, when we were fortunate to get Eli to join us. And he became the director or coordinator of that lab that we had within our research center to do that kind of integration of mixed method data. And we had several research projects at the time that were using quantitative measures such as questionnaires, surveys, child assessments, parent interviews, and other material, and also qualitative interviews where we sat down and had a conversation with parents, sometimes with teenagers and older kids, and community members about their concerns. And the focus of this research at the time was parents that have kids with disabilities. Uh, One of the things that we focused on was the very clear importance of capturing both the assessments of how the kids were doing and how the parents were responding on measures, and also what their experience was, what their daily routine was like, what they were actually doing to accommodate and coordinate and deal with all their kids, including at least one of their kids that had disability. So we tried in this work to combine statistical um, expertise and statistical significance from these various measures with um, uh, significance drawn from interpretation. Interpretive significance and understanding is just as important as Eli was just describing, as statistical significance and statistical patterns that you find in these families' lives. And the question then was, well, let's go and find the software and methods that will allow us to simultaneously put up on the screen or on paper the quality of life, the experiences, the stories, the narratives that the parents and kids were telling us, along with our quantitative information on how they were doing on a variety of scales. And there was no such software.